Is this working? Is this working? I think so. Hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Mary Long from the Marketing Department, and I'd like to welcome you tonight on this rainy night. Thanks so much for coming. And we're going to get going in just a second. Ipshita Ray is going to be doing, Dr. Ipshita Ray, the introductions, and she will introduce, and then we will start our event with Publicis. We're really, really excited to have them here tonight, and it's going to be a really great competition and a great opportunity for many of you. So I hope you will take advantage. And if you have questions about the competition, please see Dr. Ray.
Most of them have already seen me.
Or you've already seen her. Okay, take it away. Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. So first we have Dean Braun was not able to be here, but we have him here on video as for an introduction.
Hello, I'm Neal Braun, Dean of Pace University's Lubin School of Business. I'm so sorry that my IMAX Corporation board meeting will have me in Los Angeles as you gather to launch the first in what I hope will be a growing number of collaborations between Publicis and Lubin. Our budding relationship is very important to Lubin and to me personally, so please excuse my absence today. The rate of change in business, especially in media, marketing, and communications, is happening at an unprecedented rate, and Publicis is in the global intersection of many cross-currents. The opportunity to work with you to make sure our curriculum is current, relevant, and impactful, while we provide our students the opportunity to showcase their talents, is of huge benefit to Lubin, and we're determined to develop a pipeline of talent for Publicis that will be the envy of the industry. Thank you to Chirag Piparia, a proud Lubin alumnus, for making the introduction to Tim Rich, Head of Data Science at Publicis. Tim, thank you for your enthusiastic receptivity, input, and leadership. Carla Serrano, Dawn Winchester, and Tanver Hannon, thank you all for your interest and your support. The fact that the Chief Strategy Officer, Chief Digital Officer, and Senior Vice President of Analytics are all involved with us is inspiring beyond words. Our school is determined to invest and build our presence in analytics because it's critical to every discipline and every sector of the economy. And Professor Ipshita Ray, thank you for taking the initiative and making it happen. You have my full support, attention, and gratitude for building our relationship with Publicis and creating these opportunities for our students. I look forward to following the progress of the competition and to working with you all to make sure Publicis and Lubin continue to discover ways to provide value to each other. Have a great session, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.
This is all being videotaped, so your applause is also being videotaped, so he'll be very happy to hear it later on. Okay, so normally I actually wing it. I don't read from notes, but I'm so nervous today. Because we have big-time celebrities from the... Okay, so good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me again on this really bad weather night and welcoming Publicis to our PACE family. I did pronounce it Publicis. I know in America we say Publicis. I actually don't have the exact words to tell you how delighted and honored we are to have an elite team of brilliant minds come join us tonight, led by Mr. Tim Rich, and and our very own Chirag Piparia. You know, we often, yes, many of us professors, I see a lot of professors have had Chirag in our class, but I'm taking full ownership for now. We often hear the terms big data, data detective, data journalist, data scientist, data analytics. But tonight, in a very brief amount of time, you'll actually get to know what it all really means and how it impacts your career, hopefully. Tim is the head of data science at Publicis, and the main reason why we're here today. Publicis is really hungry for the right talent, and I truly believe that PACE is the perfect place to come looking for it. So I really want to showcase our best and brightest minds so that we can have a wonderful collaborative relationship moving forward. Tim's background is as colorfully interesting and impressive as is his personality. And I'm saying all these good things because I really want to be part of his entourage. So I mean that. So I'm going to actually, without taking too much more time, let Tim take over the floor. And then we'll have some time at the very end for some questions and answers. So please think of some good questions to ask. I know many of you have already applied for the competition, so thank you. By now I've interviewed over 50 of you. And so I'm really excited at what will be a very good outcome. So let's get the evening started by welcoming Mr. Tim Rich to PACE.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Hello, my name's Tim, and I'm going to get this, make this computer do its thing.
If you want to just walk around with the microphone, this is the one.
I think I might. Which one? This guy right here? Perfect. So my name is Tim. I'm the Director of Data Science at Publicis North America, located here in New York City, the beautiful city of New York. I do a lot with the analytics department and the analytics team. We're very tightly joined. And what we're going to talk about today is this wonderful competition we're doing. So this came about so one of the heads of Publicis, this woman named Linda Kaplan-Thaler, she wrote the Toys R Us Kids jingle. She wrote the Aflac Duck. She wrote pretty much every ad that's worth a crap. She wrote it. And she says, always start with a story. So I was like, okay, I'll start with a story. So I came to Publicis about a year ago, and I met this guy, Chirag, and he is a PACE alum. And I was just like really shocked because I was new to New York, and I had not been here very long, and I wasn't hip to PACE, right? I didn't know. It's a big city, right? And I started learning from Chirag about his school and what he was doing because I really liked his work. And we started to learn about it, and the more and more I learned about PACE, the more and more I wanted to be involved with it, right? Because I feel personally that the student body here at PACE, from what I've learned over the years while I've been digging into this, I'm just always amazed at who comes to this school and who comes out of this school and the education you receive at this school. And, I mean, frankly, we could go wherever we want, right? You know, I spent some time at Columbia, I did some time at the other Ivies and all of that stuff, but I really wanted to do PACE. Like, this is the type of students here, the type of mindset that comes out of here. This is something that I think is really, really valuable. And I think that there's a spot at Publicis that you might be interested in. I started in the dot-com world doing, dot-com things. And I got to the point where I got really bored with it. Because if you're on a dot-com, in addition to, like having beer in your office and, like sleeping till 10 and working till 10, like normal stuff, you start to work on the same thing again and again. Like a lot of small dot-coms, right? You're optimizing a landing page. You're making sure people aren't falling out of a funnel, right? You're like making sure your emails are landing. And what I started to realize is that I got bored of this. And so a buddy of mine was at Publicis, Ben Royce, our director of search, just super sharp dude. And he said, you got to come and check out this advertising agency. And I was like, advertising? I don't do no advertising. I'm a dot-com guy. I don't do none of that. And he's like, no, you got to come and check it out. And when I went and I met with Carla and Dawn and Andrew, and I started to learn about it, and I realized that advertising is actually an incredibly mentally engaging field. And it is not all what we tend to think of, such as like Mad Men, like cocktail lunches, right, and beautiful suits, though I do love a beautiful suit. What it's also about is it's about creative expressions of both business problems, right, to the most benign of how do I sell more widgets, to really, really complex ones, such as my brand is lagging, right, help us re-energize an old brand, right, these are two different ideas, and the amount of people who come into these advertising roles are all over the place, right? We got people who are old neuroscientists. We got people who used to like sell cars. We got people from, storytellers and musicians. So what I really wanted to kind of start with and throw out there is that if you have any interest in this, apply. Take a look. Because you're not going to believe what you find there. I thought like the dot-coms were the end. Super dope, super cool. But there's a lot of stuff in marketing and advertising, too, that you just wouldn't expect. So I just wanted to throw that out there. It was an eye-opening thing for me. So that's me. That was a slide about me, but you got that one. We got this competition here going, and this competition, it serves two purposes. The first purpose is I really wanted to move Publicis closer to Pace University. And so this serves that purpose, right? And I am here as an embodiment of that action. The second thing that we really wanted to do is we have a whole mess of jobs, right? And we are Publicis, and I'll go over a little history of Publicis very shortly, but we own a whole mess of advertising agencies. So not only at Publicis, but we have pipelines into agencies such as Digitas, or MSL Group, or Razorfish, or all these different types of agencies all over the globe, right? We own somewhere upwards of like 1,800 agencies. We have almost 200,000 employees, right? So the ability to move around in this kind of network is really easy, right? So this is something I just kind of wanted to throw out there as we go through this. But this competition, to get back to the point of what I'm here, is that we're going to go over it, and it is about, we're going to give you a business case, and the case is going to be real, and the client's going to be real. And then we would like you to work this business case and present it to us, and we're going to talk about that during this. And outcomes of this are we have paid internships already lined up, ready to rock, so you can step right in, get some coin. That's good. We also have this pipeline into a lot of other places and ways that you could leverage this when you go out into the job market, right? You participated in this thing. It was with real data. It was super groovy. I learned a lot. I could make you lots of money, et cetera, right? So you could leverage this in a lot of different ways, right? You see the spin coming. But let's take a look at it, right? So let's talk for a second here about some really boring stuff about us. So this is a short history of Publicis, right? And it's a big, long ribbon. But we're going to zoom in here a little bit. And we were started in 1920. Publicis came out, and we were the first people to actually ever use advertising on radio. So this is an old French company. So we are from Paris originally, and we were the first ones. We also then stopped right there over World War II, and Marcel, who was the founder of Publicis, right, became a fighter pilot, and then came back to Publicis after the war. In '57, we opened up Publicis New York. That's how long we've been here in New York City, right? So relatively new in the grand scheme of the age of America, but we're an older advertising firm here in the New York area. We have this thing called Publicis Drugstore, which is really cool. What it is it's an incubator space, and it lives in each of our locations. And we house .coms in it. We take really, really bright employees, and we jam them together, and we force them to build stuff in the incubator, right? You know, incubate in there, you know? And what we really try to do with this when we're thinking about the drugstore is the drugstore originally was a bar. You know, I mean, they sold booze. It was the place because they sold booze. You know, it's normal. There are bars around here, I suspect. And, you know, but we got this idea about staying up late. We got this idea about being creative and really trying to incubate and really trying to form new ideas and catalyze these different creations. And this is something that we've carried through to today. From here, from the 1960s, you see, to the 1980s, you see just a lot of growth and changes, right, coming out of this. So here we go. Maurice Levy, he is our current head, right? He joined in '71. We had the fire in 1970, burnt it to the ground. It was great. We lost a lot of great stuff, but we made a lot of other great stuff afterwards, right? We moved to our new office afterwards, and then in 1980, we reached out to Paris and we moved outside of France and we just started growing. And these next couple slides that we're going to see, especially here in '84, we're the first French agency to ever become a global advertising agency. Look at that, nice zoom in. Who built this? God, he knows exactly what I'm saying. Then in 1990 to 2000, really what we did is we just started buying things. And, you know, it's kind of American of us. You know, we just kind of thought, hey, we got a New York office. Maybe we should get like 9 or 10 other ones. You know, why not? You know, my house is dirty. Buy me a new one, you know? So we started buying things, and we kept on buying things. And one of our major models is that we look at the advertising world, and we think of things that we don't do well. And we look at the scape, and we find other places that are doing it well. And we go out, and we buy them. And it's kind of, you know, we're growing up. So this is a wonderful opportunity for you as students to start thinking about other places, because we have our tentacles in a lot of other areas, right? Really leveraging us to your uses. Right? In 2011, we were the third largest marketing group in the world by revenue, which is a good one to be. You know, it's better to be by revenue than be by employees. You know what I mean? Yeah, business school. Everybody's like, yeah, I'm hip. Right? And then here we are in 2014. This is our lovely CEO and chairwoman, Andrew, and Cynthia. They're both doing their thing. So we are here today. And this is it. We're going to lead the change. So it's an interesting idea, like in advertising, we always advertise ourselves, right? Why not? If you're going to advertise, you might as well advertise yourself, right? You got to do something with the winter months. And we had this idea about leading the change. And I never really understood what that meant. I mean, I don't really know what those combinations of words mean, but the idea behind it is sound. And that is, things are changing rapidly, and we've all seen this in our lives, right? The amount of the screen size of phones is a great one, right? The bandwidth which we're able to access these digital devices is a great one, right? And change is happening so fast that if you, in effect, stop, you're might be even going in reverse. And so we really want to lead the change, and the idea behind this is to be out in front and to move forward in things. And that's why we're coming to you, because frankly, we don't have all the ideas. We don't. We can't have all the ideas, and thank God we don't have all the ideas, right? We need people to work with us to help craft new ideas, to help think about the change, to help lead it, and to help move it forward. And that's really what this competition is about. So, there's the timeline. It's a short history, but it's long, it's storied, it's nice. So let's go back to what you came here for, other than the pizza in the back, which I will not keep you from. Absolutely, wouldn't hear of it. This competition is going to be focused on one of our current clients, and here's a little client roster here, right? We have the normal spattering here. The Dare Greatly campaign for Cadillac that was plastered all across New York, that was us. City Bike, that was us. You can thank us for City Bike. Thank you. Red Lobster appearing in the most recent South Park. That was not us, but funny as hell. Absolutely. Yeah, that was hilarious. We do Heineken. We do a lot of work with Heineken, and we do a lot of work with Major League Soccer, right? Because Heineken is the major sponsor of Major League Soccer, and we do a lot of work in the stadiums, and we quantify fan emotions, and we do a lot of interactive stuff with soccer. It's really cool. Oral-B, who doesn't love good teeth health, right? Or nice electric toothbrushes, right? Pepto-Bismol, right? After that pizza, we're going to the Pepto, right? So, you know the deal. You know the deal, right? Our most recent one that we just recently won was Sears, and this is really interesting. We might have you work on Sears. It's very interesting. Why does Sears even exist? I don't know. That's going to be your job, maybe. I don't think they know, in all honesty. I don't think they know. I think they would admit that they don't know. Right? You can bid it all on Amazon, right? Or you go into a smaller store to buy it, but they have this huge chains, right? So they have to have all the real estate. They have to heat the buildings, pay the employees, have the stock, right? You guys know the deal, right? Yeah, I don't know. They got a nice font, though. I'll give them that. So, what do you have to do, right? What is this all about? What do you even have to do for this? Well, not much, a little bit. What we're looking for is this is a strategy and analytics brief. So when we say strategy, I didn't know this. You don't need any strategy in the doc. I didn't know what strategy was. I'll give you the crash course in strategy, and I'm still bad at it because, frankly, I do data, and I don't do much strategy, but I guess I do strategy. So here's a strategic thing. You see, let's take an example. Great. You're selling Band-Aids, right? And you want to understand what you can do with Band-Aid. Everybody, Band-Aid, we know is like a plaster, but like Xerox, the name of the brand is the name of the thing, right? You're in that very enviable place to be when your product name is the name of the thing. The Xerox machine, perhaps that's passé, Band-Aids, right? And so you're trying to sell more Band-Aids, and you think, well, how else can we sell Band-Aids, right? Either you get hurt and you put something on it, or you do what? Strategy is that function of trying to understand how a product is currently being used in the market space, how it is being used in innovative ways that are not mainstream. So, for example, with a Band-Aid, people are putting them on the bottoms of shoes to get traction. You guys hip to this? There's a YouTube video. Certainly somebody saw the YouTube video. Yeah. Okay. See, that would be strategy, not landing, right? So this is an example of thinking about the ways that a product is being used in the world, right? Thinking about alternate uses of Band-Aid. So one of the ideas that I had for Band-Aid is I don't have any kids, but I got a friend with a kid, And he's like this kid all the time, right? He's hanging over the kid. He's like, the kid falls down. He's like, picks him up. Oh, you're going to be great, you know. The kid does something like, oh, you're the smartest kid in the world. You're clearly a genius, you know. And I realized that maybe there's a backlash to this helicopter parenting. I don't know. I mean, I'm not hip. But I went out with the strategists, and we did this work, and we found out, yes, there is a backlash to helicopter parenting. That is, you're coddling your children too much. They get out of the workforce, and they're expecting a golden star for everything they do. You know, they want a raise for showing up on time. We call that salary, you know. Like, there are these, you know, maybe there's a backlash against it. And what we saw was that's what we could do. Perhaps with Band-Aid might be the thing. Let the kid fall. That might be the campaign. Push the kid over, right? Let him get, I mean, not you. You don't push your own kid over. Maybe you you hire people to push your kid over for you, you know, toughen them up. Could be a budding career. There's a lot of startups here, Innovation Institute, you know, the entrepreneurial space, you know, pushing kids. Anyway, maybe Band-Aid isn't about coddling. Maybe Band-Aid is about getting back up when you fail, right? That is some strategy, right? That's thinking about how that we could use this in a different way. And this is what we're looking for, right? We're not looking for something like that heavy. You know, if you came up with that, that'd be great. But, you know, I mean, that's kind of an example. That's a strategic thought. And then from that, we move into tactics. And tactics are make a video of somebody pushing a kid over, right? Or a tactic is, you know, do a YouTube post about how helicopter parents are running out of fuel for their helicopters and they need Band-Aids after they crash and burn, or something of that ilk, right? That is a tactic. The strategy is the way that we are conceptualizing a brand or a product in the world and how we can think about it differently, right? You come at strategies through research and through thinking. And we come at strategies, and we'll talk about this going forward, but you come at strategies through what I like to be called mentally limber, which is really something that's really great in the advertising world. We focused on just thinking, like release any preconceived idea and start to understand possible ways that you could tie things in, right? Helicopter parenting bad, reflex to that good, Band-Aid now on the reflex instead of with the helicopter parenting, right? Just kind of, so that is an example of a strategic application. So with the strategic application, we want you to answer a simple question. A quick one, an easy one, you know, nothing to it. Something like this. A flagship Publicis client is facing a marketing and business challenge today and is looking for an innovative and strategic thinkers to help solve the brand's needs goals. What do you do? Right, easy, right, easy. Right? That's what we do all day, easy. What we're going to do is we're going to give you a brief. And the brief is going to be from one of our clients. And it is going to be about a current business problem, right? And so this is going to be, in effect, a real-life thing. We would like you to form up into teams, and we would like you to build us a small deck that explains, one, the strategic thinking around this, and we'll go through this in the brief. We'll lay all this out. You know, we'll have all the bullet points and stuff. And two, though, we need to ground strategy in something. So remember on the example of the helicopter parenting, right? There's a strategy could be, I think the world is this way. And because it's this way, this is true. That's not always the way it is, right? That's I think. And we all see things differently. We interpret things differently, right? We all have different experiences. It's really hard for all of us to even agree on our favorite flavor of pizza, little less how it is we see the world, the complex, dynamic world, right? One of the things that strategy really, really uses, and that really, frankly, makes money, is that you ground strategy in an observation that is quantifiable, right? So for the example of helicopter parenting, we say, look, we know that helicopter parenting exists because there are this many newspaper stories written about helicopter parenting in the last 2 years, right? There are umpteen thousand, right? And we know a backlash exists because in the very recent 6 months, we see an uptick in stories questioning the helicopter parenting, right? Now, we didn't just pull this out of the air. That's not just Tim being smart. That is me looking at data and looking at these two trends, right? And then basing on that evidence the so what, right? And that's the crux. And that is going to be a real key for success for this competition, right? It's thinking about a trend, and you're going to come up with it from nowhere, and that's groovy. But just like a good paper that you write and then you go back and cite everything, that's the exact same function that's happening here, right? You're going to come up with an idea. You're going to be like, ah, that's brilliant. I love it. Paid in full. And then you got to stop and go, okay, can we cite this, right? Is there anything to show this? And also, much like citing a paper or statistics, right, there is an idea that, sometimes you gotta find some stuff. One observation isn't going to cut it, right? You got to find some stuff, whatever that means. And I'm leaving it really vague and really broad to give you plenty of rope to hang yourself with. No. Just remember, right, that's the old thing, right? Give them enough rope to hang themselves with. It's about thinking really loosely and then going and seeking this out, okay? Think about websites. Think about social. Think about blogs. Think about televisions, teleprompters, earning statements, right? Earning call reports, business drafts. I mean, there's so much information out there, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. What would this look like, this report that you would give us, right? What would this even thing look like? I don't really know what this would look like. But I think you should think about data, right? Says the data guy. The barber says you need a haircut, right? By the way, this is data, right? This lines, it's data. That's, It is actually one of the tools we built called Caffeine that takes same session search data and goes out and scours the way people search. So, for example, we type into Google right now. I type into Google. I say cute shoes. Then I type in cute red shoes. Then I type in cute red shoes, New York City. Then I type in cute red shoes, New York City, under $100. Right? And this is how we work with search engines. This tool, this is a bad example of it, but this is the output. What this does is it goes out and it finds these same session search data with a seed term, like cute red shoes or cute shoes. And we see all of these connected thoughts on how everybody's searching for this. And then we run clustering algorithms on it, and we cluster them together, and we start to see these trends that are happening in the search space. And this leads to insights, right? So in this case, we went from data to idea rather than idea to data, right? Both ways are completely viable. This is a way that we can kind of help jumpstart this on call. So, for example, what happened is we put in electric toothbrush, right? Oral-B was going to come out. I usually spend $3 for a toothbrush, except if I buy like the OG one at the health store, in which spot I spend like $5 for a toothbrush. But they want to sell me an electric toothbrush, which is like $300. Right? That's a huge change. So we put this into Caffeine, and Caffeine comes out, and I'd be danged if it doesn't show people are searching for 2015. Well, what is 2015? That's a model year, right? People are in the toothbrush space searching for a model year. What's the insight? This is a technological device that happens to be a toothbrush. This is not a toothbrush. That's a technological device. Meaning that when we go to market, don't go to market as a toothbrush. Go to market as a tech device that happens to be a toothbrush. And now we just changed the whole marketing strategy, right? The whole marketing strategy just went out. We're not selling toothbrushes anymore. We're selling a new iPhone that happens to brush your teeth, right? See we're getting this here, right? I'm warming you up. So, thinking data, zooming into data. One of the things that we love is market research data. You have a lot of access to this, right? Use your library. Because the library data that you guys have here, when you're out in the real world, you'll have to pay for. You got good shit here. Use it, right? It's true. Every little bit. Eat it up. Micro and macroeconomic data, something that's very sweet and dear to my heart. Your strategy is going to be rolled out, hopefully, into the world. The world has trends around us. The world has things that are happening, right? Stocks go up, stocks go down, right? People are made presidents, right? The Canadian guy, right? That good-looking boxer from Canada, right? Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, girl, right? Like, that stuff's real. So what does this impact on your ideas, right? How, when you make this plan and it goes out into the world and you're selling it to me, how does it fit with what's happening in the world, right? That's huge. That's essential. Another one, public data. And this is census data. This is my best friend. Every data nerd's best friend is the U.S. Census. Oh, there's so much good stuff in there. It's a real pain. Somebody needs to overhaul the site. Whoever did census.gov needs to be shot. That is a horrible interface. But the data is good, right? Survey data. You can survey yourself. Everybody knows how to take a sample size. If you don't look it up, there's a sample size calculator online, right? So figure out how big your market is. Figure out how many people you could market to. And if you can sample 20 people at pace and get a decent sample for the market size, do it, right? Think about survey data. Think about library and academic research. I laid into this before because I love libraries. Nerd it like that. They have such resources here. And there is a data, I believe there's a data part of the library where they buy data sets. Use those data sets. Also, self-collected data. This is, if you have a little tech-savvy buddy, maybe write a web scraper, go out, harvest your own data, right? Maybe if you're counting foot traffic flows, maybe go to, if you're like in New York, Bites of the Big Apple. I don't know if you ever go there. Excellent website for data around New York City. Right? You can count things. So just really think about the data that you can use to sell this story, right? Because you are helping us to understand where the strategy came from. And this particular role that you would be winning with this is in our analytics department, much storied, much accoladed analytics department. So it is an analytical role. Though, I would like to say I am a social scientist who can barely add, so it's not math heavy. I'm not trying to freak anybody out, right? We got any sociologists or philosophers? Please, come on in, more the merrier. So think about your data, right? Data's groovy, data's cool, data's nice. Also, I want you to think story, right? Because a lot of what we do is we craft stories, and that is really like the bulk of my job is I fly around and I tell stories about data. And I say, ooh, the data said this, as if it was a mythical creature coming out of the woods to visit me, you know? The data told me this the other day. You know, that's what I say. It works every time. They love it, right? So when you're doing this, think about like the stories that your thing that you build, right, the strategy is going to give to the brand, right? Don't come in and sell me something for Captain Crunch that removes the sugar flavor from Captain Crunch, right? Bad idea. I love the sugar in Captain Crunch, right? Don't sell me a Cadillac pitch that's about an electric car that Cadillac hasn't built yet. Right? You know what I'm saying, right? What's the story? How does it fit with the brand? How does it fit with the brand's image? Look at the brand on Twitter. Look at the brand on Facebook. Look at the brand on LinkedIn. Look at the brand on the web. Look at the brand on YouTube. Do you see any commonalities of the brand? Right? If you see a commonality, you can bet $50 that that is a huge thing for the brand. Right? Lay into that. I'm talking, in the most simple sense, is a typeset. Right? A color palette, right? These are just like no-brainers. If you're going to put together a deck to hustle Facebook, you had better have a Facebook color in there, right? Don't go to Facebook with a red deck, right? Right? Look at the brand. How does it fit with the image? Also think about why would you recommend it? Because you're going to be pitching me. You're going to be pitching Chirag. We're going to be pitching Dawn. We're going to try and grab in some of the C-levels. We'll rope them in. They'll come. You know, and we're going to be, so think about why we should do it. Why we should do it. I mean, right now I'm pitching you to do the work. So think about that, right? There's some meta stuff for you, right? Right? And also think about what is feasible, right? Will it work? Will this even work? And I mean, I love crazy. I make my living on crazy. So we can push this really, really far. So don't get too hung up on it, but we're not inventing new technology. You know what I'm saying? Right? We are not going to do that. So if it's about like the floating hoverboard that Lexus apparently made, right? I don't know, not so much. If it's about a new type of product that we could use, yes, absolutely, right? But will it work? Also, is it compelling? And, you know, a couple angles that I would use for this is, of course, new markets, right? Are there new people that we could reach? Very compelling, right? More people to buy our widgets. Does it serve a function where the brand is lacking, right? We can think about areas where the brands might be lacking. Let's think of Adidas and Nike, right? Nike seems to have smoked Adidas at the tennis open, the U.S. Open, right? It was Nike everywhere. There was no Adidas there. I mean, I know there's branding and there's sponsorship, but come on, you know, there could be some guerrilla stuff. There could be, right? They got smoked. So is this what you come up with help that brand next time round to infiltrate and take over, right? You see what I'm getting at here? I'm trying to kind of lay down some ideas about how to guide this process. Also think design, right? I love this slide because, one, I love hand drawings. You know, Frank Lloyd Wright drew all of this stuff by hand, no clicking. And two, we are an advertising agency, and we like well-designed things. And this doesn't mean you need to have like a pro deck, but use a template. They're free online, right? Have a consistent typeface. You know what I'm saying? Have a consistent color palette, right? When Frank sold this in, right, this was a sell. Who the hell is going to make this in New York City, right? He had to design this in such a way as to sell it in to whom was buying it, right? And to get it through all the boards to get it built. Right? It has to think about something that looks good. And this is ultimately part of the sell, right? You could have the best idea in the world that's poorly packaged, and it just doesn't land very well. You know what I mean? Or you could have a really crappy thing that's packaged beautifully, and you'll sell 1 million of them, right? We know this all the time, right? There's a whole bunch of crap out there that's packaged so beautifully now. I just love it. So, you know, just remember that this is a strategy and analytics competition, right? So show a clear strategic vision. That is, your product is here in the world. There's a trend happening here in the past. I think there's a trend happening here in the future. My vision joins these two together, right? Show a compelling narrative, right? The idea of, hey, right, the narrative for this talk, the narrative was Publicis, Tim, you, competition, stuff, thank you, right? That's the narrative, right? It went from very macro to a meso to a micro, right? That's the way we think, right? Or go micro to macro, right? But don't get all mixed up about trying to like put the little up front and then follow it by the super big and then have a middle thing in the end, and right? Think it's a story. Tell it the way you like to be told stories. Tell it the way we learn. Also, back this up with data, right? Because the end of the day, like, just get some data in there. Really leverage this, because we're looking where you don't need to be a data scientist. You don't need to be a coding chops. You don't need to solve Pythagoras' theorem on the back of a napkin, right? You do not have to be able to multiply numbers, because we will never check, right? Use your computer. But think about data and think about a quantitative way to measure and articulate what it is you're doing. Right? And I know I've just like laid into that so heavy, because that's the key. That's the key, right? That's the killer, right? So that's kind of what we got going on here. These are the next steps. October 30th, registration deadline, 2 days. So you got 2 days to figure that out. November 5th, we're going to release the case. I am wrangling with a couple brands, some of them very interesting, some of them very boring. I'm going to give you such a boring brand. Not true. It's going to be amazing. Also, we are presenting the cases on November 20th, okay? Just before Thanksgiving. It will be a pitch style. You'll have some time. You'll have some slides. You'll have some microphone. You'll have some talkie-talkie, right? Next, on November 30th, we're going to have the winning teams announced, which is what everybody loves to hear. But just for applying, you're all winners, right? And what I really also like, the thing that bums me out is that we really just can't hire everybody all at once, right? And that's a bummer. But I want you to think about this strategically, right? Here's that damn strategy word again, about putting this, thinking about resumes, thinking about work that you can put up in front of a prospective employer, right? Get a 2-for-1 out of this, right? Unfortunately, we cannot hire everyone immediately. And if we do not hire you, I'm deeply sorry, but leverage this work, right? Put it in your online portfolio. Make reference to it. It is for Publicis, for Christ's sake, right? Throw that on the resume, right? Figure out a way to get your 2-for-1 out of this, because you should be getting a 2-for or a 3-for out of this, okay? And I believe this next slide, if I had made it, which I did but didn't link it, says thank you. So that was really what I wanted to say. Thank you for coming. Crappy night, and I know pizza draws a big crowd. It always does for me. But, you know... Not yet. But what I want to do is I want to open up the floor to questions, and we could talk about the competition. We can talk about the Mets. Go Mets, right? We got to hurry this up, right? We got an hour. We got stuff to do. I understand. We could talk about the Mets. We could talk about data. We could talk about science. We could talk about Dr. Ray.
No.
Oh, okay.
We will open it up to Q&A, but before we do, I actually forgot something really important. I wanted to thank Professor Bruce Bockenheimer for not only spending almost a big part of his day today taking you guys through the e-lab and talking about the future of our collaboration, but in addition to Bruce being so kind and gracious with his time, and I know he has a 5 o'clock in the morning flight to catch, and he's still here.
That's a good pitch.
Yes,
That's a good pitch.
it is. I wanted to thank some other professors who have very generously come here. Some have brought their students. So if I could just quickly thank Professor Corris, who's right there at the back. And if I'm missing anybody, please tell me. Professor Brander, who is right here, who teaches our analytics course. So he's right there. And Professor Fain, Professor Gertner. Who am I missing? Professor Raman, Professor Markowitz. Right? A lot of professors. Thank you so much for being here. So I just want to take a few minutes to introduce you to Chirag, because it's always nice to hear from a student who is now supremely successful under your helm. But I just want Chirag to talk to you for a few minutes because I think you'll really be inspired by how he jump-started his career here. So let's say hello to a very tall man, Chirag Piparia.
Thank you. Well, this is very exciting to be here. So before I even start, how many people are graduating within the next year? Show of hands. Wow. Okay. How many of you are marketing students? How many are everybody else? Yes, I was you. When Dr. Ray approached me a few years ago to do this competition, I was a senior, sitting in a spring semester. All I had in my mind is I'm going to graduate. I'm going to start a job in finance. Had a nice cushy job at a hedge fund. Loved it. And then the market crashed. Not so good. She poached me about a few times. You should do this competition. You're a smart kid, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, nope. Marketing, staying far away from that as possible. It is boring, not innovating. Boy, was I wrong, right? She got me to do the first ever PACE and Group M analytics competition. Competition, I was at the end of the day, was like resume builder. As Tim said, get your 2-for-1s because those things aren't free. So I took it at that lens. I was like, oh, I'm going to take this as a resume builder, work hard at this competition. Worked out really well. After the competition was over, at that time, we were just guaranteed certifications, not even internships. A piece of paper that says I participated. Really great paper, though. For somehow, some way, they saw something in me, and they offered me a full-time job to come work at Group M. It's a great opportunity. I was ready to make a career change because the market crashed. I didn't have job security. I like to have a roof over my head, food on the table. So I went to Group M. Group M brought me to analytics, which I didn't think existed in a marketing world. Not only analytics, but into the world of data science is what Tim does, which is like voodoo science to me still. But that's a whole different conversation. But I'll be real with you guys. There's every other school in New York City, I bet you no professor actively gets students jobs. They have curriculum, they have the networking opportunities, but no students have professors who advocate jobs the way they do here. So this lady and all the other professors back there need a round of applause because I made it because of them. And you guys might think I'm crazy, but bar none, it's because of people like this who go out of their way. She's not getting any kickback besides a pat in the back and a thank you and a nice hug at the end of the night. But this is it. We're giving you an opportunity that, frankly, a lot of people don't get. And it helped me push my career forward. I work at Publicis now. I have a great job, one job that I actually genuinely like waking up to and going to because it's a new challenge, it's a new place. I get to work with lots of smart people, and I get to build things that I enjoy doing. So hopefully you can take my experiences, come talk to me after, but this is something you should do just not for your career, but as yourselves, as you are young in this world. Take every opportunity as it comes, and don't say no.
And just to quickly add, it was Chirag who over the summer contacted me and said, I want to give back to PACE, I want to come back, and I want to hire our students. So just think about that. He just graduated a few years ago. In a short amount of time, he's become really successful, and he's actually come back to help you guys, right, with your career. So that's a really good feeling. Okay, and Professor Nankin, I forgot to thank you, so thank you for being here. Okay, so question and answer. So I know this is really exciting. I really want you guys to apply. You do have a few more days to apply, so please do so. Send me an email with your resume of interviewing phonetically. So questions. Let's open it up to some questions and answers. And here is Stephanie, and she hasn't graduated yet. And can I say, she just got hired by Publicis full-time to work in Cadillac. Woohoo! Okay, questions. I know you have some.
Someone's got to ask one.
It's always the first one.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's your favorite thing? What's your favorite thing about working at Publicis?
Favorite thing about working at Publicis, it's the variety. We do all kinds of different stuff all day long, and I'll work many different clients at once, and that's just the variety and the challenge that comes with the variety. Number 2. You got one. No. There we go.
For the competition, are the teams randomly put together, or do we come with our own team? How does that work?
Come with your own team.
No. No, the process was slightly, actually, I'm sorry, we didn't quite update you, but Chirag and I have been talking. So basically the process is, and I've mentioned this in emails before, that once the resumes are submitted, I'm kind of doing a basic screening. I've interviewed, like I said, 52 students already. I'm doing some phone interviews. I'm happy to do more. I think I'm going to send a short list of resumes, 30, 40 or so, just their way so that they have it regardless of who the finalists are. It's a nice resource for them to tap into when they're looking for, filling positions in various departments. But once I send them that list, what I was going to say is I will, obviously make my recommendations. But since they're hiring you, or potentially hiring you, I would want Chirag's input on who he thinks would best qualify. And so together we'll form we'll pick the final 16. So there'll be 4 in each team, so 4 teams of 4 each. And they're going to be kept diverse. So we'll put students from different backgrounds in each team so that the different strengths are kind of optimized. And so Chirag will notify the teams that are formed and selected directly. He'll let you guys know, I think on the 4th or 5th, congratulations, you've been selected. And, again, those who are not selected, please just remember this. I've had a lot of students who who couldn't make it to the final 16 in Group M, and then they came back for the IBM competition. They got the interviews, 2 got hired. So again, the resumes are important for me, so I'll keep pushing you out there. So it's okay if you don't make it in the final 16. Your resume will still be pushed. So that's basically the process. So if you have any questions about the actual, the competition format or the logistics, ask me or email me. Again, ira@pace.edu. But I'm handling that part of it here from PACE, and then I'm getting their input on it. Yeah. Daishan, yeah.
So I was just wondering about I was curious about your working environment. So I would ask you to give some, explain some of the atmosphere in your team environment and in your office, and also maybe you could give me 3 the most important characteristic of people that you're looking to hire that may be beneficial to the team.
Absolutely. So the environment's really great in the sense we're moving to a new office. We work on teams, but the teams are then broken out into a discipline format. So we have the analytics team, and within the analytics team, we'll have some folks on Cadillac, we'll have some folks on VIX, we'll have some folks working some P&G, right? And we always really work to bring all of our teams together and cross-mix them. So strategy will often be mixed with analytics, will often be mixed with the creatives who are coming up with the ideas and the ways that they're manifested in the world. So we really seek to bring everybody together and mash it all up. The office we currently have, we have one in Herald Square right now, and we have another one that's being built out in 1675 on 52nd and Broadway. 52nd and Broadway is going to be like super groovy, open floor plan. Herald Square is an old hotel and looks like an old hotel, but if you, spill coffee on the floor, it's okay. So, there's something to be said for both places. We really, really encourage cross-mixing of disciplines, right? And that leads to this idea of like what we look for. I mean, if there is a prototypical thing, I think it would be intellectual curiosity, right? Because if you're working at an ad firm, you're going to just work on all kinds of crazy stuff. It really helps to be intellectually curious about everything, right? So a curiosity. A second one that I really like is I love somebody who has just kind of done a bunch of stuff, right? In the advertising world, one day you're working on cars, the next day you're working on a pharmaceutical, the next day you're working on a CPG brand, right? The more different things you've done really informs how you can approach these brands. So diversity of experience is great. And this, I mean like short order cook to like plumber to like, you know what I'm saying? Like the whole thing is beautiful, in my opinion. And that's something I really, really like and I push for. The other thing that I also look for a lot on a resume, on the bottom, where you put all your good stuff at the top and all that, and then on the bottom they have some people put like extra skills, or some people put like my favorite things to do. I've always loved to see what, and this is the trick, right? You take the industry and you put the industry blogs that you read down there. So if you're applying for an analytics post, put like your 3 favorite analytics nerd blogs. You know what I mean? Like throw that at the bottom, even if you just made it up, to just show that at least you know enough about the industry that you're kind of reading something in the space. And honestly, I do look for that, right? Because, I don't care if you train goldfish. That's really cool. I really love goldfish. But if you had something about, like a nerd blog you read, I kind of just tune into that. And I think it's helped me. I knew you had a question.
Now I do.
Hi.
Out of all of the cases and projects that you've seen, which one has stood out to you the most and why?
For like selecting for this?
Yeah. Yep.
I wanted something kind of sexy a little bit. I didn't want to layer you on with like some kind of crappy, sell, dusters or something, though you might very well sell dusters, so I might rue my words. What I wanted to do is I wanted to find something, one that was, that had relatively decent data out there. Right? Some of the stuff we do is incredibly obtuse, right? Very, very finite pharma stuff, right? It's going to be hard to dig out data, and frankly, no one wants to read the American Medical Association journals, right? So I'm looking for something that has a little bit of cultural zeitgeist behind it that we can harness from a data idea. The other thing I was looking for was something that had a little bit more of a social presence and something that's popping around it, right? So if you want to go out and you want to use the blogosphere, you want to use social media as a way to support your strategic visions, I wanted to make sure that there was stuff out there for you. So these are things that I'm thinking about. Some of the ones that are hot that we are talking about, we are thinking about Oral-B. We were thinking about perhaps Sears. We were thinking about maybe Cadillac. We were thinking about maybe Citi. We have a really cool Citi all-digital activation that's coming up. That's super sweet, and I will leave it at that, ... But there's some, because it's, finance, non-finance. It's very interesting. But yeah, that's what I was thinking. And I want to keep it, relatively interesting. Doesn't have to be that mundane, if I can possibly help it.
I also have a question about case.
Yeah.
Will there only a big problem, and we can be creative to use different way to solve it, or there will be have several questions, and there have the certain solutions for that?
That is a great question for Chirag.
So, just like every big problem we get, it obviously has a multifaceted problem to it, and they give us one big problem to solve for, and as we're solving for it, we realize that they didn't take these things into account. So the way we're going to approach it to you guys is the same way we get it from our clients. One big, gigantic problem that probably has subsets of many different things you're trying to solve for, and it's your job to address those on the way and show us how you would tackle those challenges as it comes.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm asking one of the specific data, like financial data, because I'm from an accounting background.
Yeah.
So what I have access is like Bloomberg things and do those calculations and give the clients a number, yes or no, and it's about a number. So is that involved? It's part of our competition that we solve.
Not per se, and please chime in if I go rogue on this one. As you see with Dr. Ray, I go rogue all the time. Like, it's really Chirag's job just to keep me in line. You know, I don't think specifically. I would love a number to support a strategic point of view, right? You're like, look, 58%, here's a stat that I loved. 80% of the ladies pregnant are millennials, right? Millennial is 34, is the oldest millennial, right? Like, yeah, that's a great stat, but it really doesn't mean anything, right? Like, that is the kind of, like, yes, bring some stats to it. Bring a number to it. Yes, absolutely. But put it in the service of a strategic vision, right? Harness it into the way that you can articulate your vision.
I kind of wanted to quickly ask a follow-up to that because there were a lot of, IS students, management students, finance students, accounting students, and some marketing students. They're all applying for this competition, right? So, so often in schools, we're taught to solve problems discipline-based, right? So in marketing, it's about customer intelligence and how we do customer surveys and provide solutions. So a lot of this competition, from what I've gained or understood, it's not about, do not actually think narrow. Don't think, well, here's a problem which seems obvious when I break it down, and it seems that I have some obvious solutions to these problems because that's how I did it in my classes. That's not what it is about. It's about, can I now look for alternatives that may explain the data better and based on which I can tell a better story. And my story is going to be really different from the other people's stories that are based on just what the data is saying, descriptions of the data. So I want you guys to really think as, top business executives providing solutions holistically, strategies that address the whole problem rather than discipline-based, and data-based. Data is great, and we want to use data. Data visualization is great. But really, you guys can add to this, but you're really looking for storytellers. And I've said that in my classes many times. Good storytellers, like you're a great storyteller, and that's why you do what you do so well, but good storytellers don't focus so much on the numbers as what the numbers mean, right, and what it can do to a business. So that's kind of, I think, what you're looking for. So not a marketing student who can do a marketing problem, or an accounting student, or a finance student who can use stat tool, but a business student, or it could be a sociology student. Exactly, okay.
Absolutely. So here's the deal. The pizza's in the back. I'm hanging out. Chirag's hanging out. I know how it goes. You've been listening to me talk for a long time. My wife eats pizza often after I start talking for a long time. So just head on back, get yourself some food. We'll be around. We can answer questions. Thank you all very much for coming. I really appreciate your time.
And thank you. I have some gifts for you guys. So please give them a huge applause when I give them the gift. So I'm so bad at doing it. Please take food with you to classes. Definitely eat. There's lots of food. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you.